Well, I'm not sure if we expected that from a week overall, but Phoenix Rising have taken 6 points out of 6. They are now within touching distance of confirming a playoff place for the 2024 USL Championship season. Welcome into the PHNX Rising post-game show. Owain Evans, Rees Goodall. We're coming to you live from Hayward, California, Pioneer Stadium, where Phoenix Rising just defeated Oakland Roots by a score of 1-0. Tomás Ángel with the second half goal. That was the difference on the night. And it means that Rising now, with only one scenario whereby chasing San Antonio would catch them.
Yeah, I mean, they could have clinched a playoff spot tonight if it weren't for a 99th minute winner for San Antonio tonight, which if you had told me a week ago after that Monterey Bay game that Rising would clinch a playoff spot tonight, I would have laughed at you, to be honest, because it just seemed like a week ago Rising were in such a dark position. Now, a week later, they're on the brink of clinching a playoff spot in that home match against Memphis. It's quite the drastic turnaround in the mood around this club at the moment, and I'm very interested to see how Rising can cope with the pressure of that Memphis match.
Indeed. That's going to be an interesting one next week. But for today, we really need to focus on this and just where the game went today overall, right? If we look at just how they played overall, first half, maybe not the most convincing. I mean, I said at halftime, it was one of those halves of football that just feels like you can say it was 45 minutes and not necessarily a whole lot more you can say about it. Teams didn't really, on either side, feel like they did a lot. I actually felt like Oakland probably had the best chance the first half, but it was also the only real chance that they created in that first half. You look on into the second half, Rising, because they get their nose in front, they move a little bit more defensively, and they're able to pull it off, right? This is kind of characteristic, I think, of some of what we've seen from Rising. They're a defensively reasonably solid team. If they get their nose in front, they're normally okay. It's normally the other way around that they struggle with more. But yeah, just what a huge result in terms of the context of their season.
Yeah, the first half, there wasn't much going on for either side. Oakland had a chance right around the 6-yard box that the Oakland player just put over the bar. Rakovsky wasn't tested by it. And then the big chance for Rising came. It was offside, actually, but Tomás Ángel did well with it to slot it between the keeper's legs. Bit of a Trejo-esque finish there. Offsides, though, so it doesn't count. But really, besides those two moments, there wasn't much to that first half. It was the second half where the game grew for both sides.
Right, and you look at that first half, I believe it was a total of maybe 5 shots between both sides. It wasn't a particularly attacking first half in a lot of ways. There wasn't a lot of end product on either side. But, you know, we'll look at the numbers, actually. We'll look at the numbers now. The overall numbers for the entirety of the match. By the Numbers is brought to you by Desert Financial Credit Union, Arizona's #1 credit union, as said by Forbes. Look at the XG numbers there. Rising, not the most convincing overall. Oakland do put up a bigger XG number. But the thing about it is it's Phoenix Rising getting it again. They get their nose in front. They did move to a slightly more defensive kind of setup after getting their nose in front there. And that was something we'll move on to later on when we talk about that with what Diego Gómez told us about some of the subs he made and where the thinking was there. But Rising 5 shots to Oakland's 11. But Rising actually had more shots on target with 3 compared to the 2. Oakland Roots, for all of the pressure that they managed to create, for all of the shots that they managed to take, they didn't in the end prove particularly threatening to Patrick Rakovsky in the goal.
Yeah, Oakland at times just was shooting the ball to shoot the ball. They didn't have much creativity in that final third. They didn't have many opportunities. The one big opportunity came at the end of the game where they had the header at the 6-yard box and it went off the post. Didn't come close to bouncing in the goal, but that was the only one that tested Rakovsky. Rakovsky didn't come close to it, but there was nothing that forced him into a save. The 2 shots on target were easy saves for Rakovsky in this match.
Right, and there was an interesting one. I know that was always going to be something that would kind of dominate some of the the talk, going into this game. Rocco Ríos Novo dropped for Patrick Rakowski in this game. That was something, chatting with Diego Gómez after the game. He says, look, we've got 2 quality goalkeepers here, and they're goalkeepers that, we wanted to give Patrick a start in this week. They looked at it as though it was okay. We think we can get something from New Mexico. We'll play Rocco in that one, and let Rakowski take the game up here in Oakland. Look, it's an approach that I think we didn't see as much from Juan Guerra last year in terms of playing the backup goalkeeper, but it's something that we're not too unfamiliar with because it was a very common tactic of Rook chances too, particularly in weeks where you had a midweek game. You would put the backup goalkeeper out for one of those games.
Yeah, I mean, I believe it was Rakowski's first match since the Seattle Open Cup game, I believe, 5 months ago. So that's a long time to go without minutes for a goalkeeper. But we did talk about it before this match, was after the Vegas game, after the which was the Monterey Bay game, the errors that Ríos Novo made, maybe just give him a break from football just to get his mind off it, just to give him, a rest. But again, Rakowski really wasn't tested. He didn't have much to do. So you're not going into this match looking at that, or looking after this match, looking at that change as saying it was good or bad. It just didn't do anything for me.
Right, and there was the thing. I think Oakland, again, just as a team, we knew they've had some struggles with scoring. That was kind of the theme that we were hearing from people when we got here to Hayward, and you're chatting with people, and one of the themes was just, this team, they struggle to find the back of the net. And I think having watched them today, I see why. By and large, there was no real, I think, particularly difficult opportunities that Rakowski had to deal with. Patrick dealt with the ones that he had to, right? There was nothing, I think. He had a perfectly solid performance simply in the fact that he didn't make any obvious mistakes. He's only a talking point almost because I think people would say that they rate Rocco really highly and would like to see him out there as much as he can play. But he definitely didn't make himself really the focus of this game in any way, shape, or form. I think the only thing about it is he just wasn't tested very much. So it's kind of one of those ones where you can't really tell a lot about a goalkeeper coming out of a game like that because we just didn't have much to do.
Yeah, he didn't have much to do. And when in possession, he really didn't get the ball too much. And if he did, it was just easy, quick passes, which is something that Rocco really, he would play the easy ones, but he would also try and push the ball longer and farther. But it's still, there was just not much to tell the difference, really, if you're looking at it from an outside perspective. I just don't think, I don't really know what more to say, to be honest.
Again, right, you're right. They just didn't really test him, and that was, I think, though, that I put that down testament to 2 things. Number one is I think that Oakland's finishing overall was not good.
I agree.
When they had good chances, they struggled to get them on target. The other thing I'll say is that Rising had a very backs to the wall kind of defensive approach at times. I think that they did a good job of finding ways to get bodies in front of shots as well. There were quite a few times where you were looking at the Oakland player in the penalty area who has the ball. And again, I'm not going to name anyone in particular because there were so many. It felt like, especially in the course of the second half, when they really felt like they had to chase that game a little bit more. And they didn't have any time to breathe, time to think. They couldn't find any space to get shots off. The shots were, when they finally were being hit, they were being smacked off of defenders because people were just throwing their bodies in the way. And that's not a bad thing at all. It's good, really, that you've got players who are really willing to kind of throw themselves around, throw the bodies in the way in those kind of moments.
Yeah, I mean, I think the 2 main players that you can point to for that were Pop Marboy and then Mo Traore after coming on with about 20 or so minutes to go. Those 2, they made their presence felt on the back line. They were smothering shots, as you mentioned, but it was also other players that you really kind of wouldn't expect to do that. Like Quajo made his presence felt. Charlie Dennis was in there. It really was a team effort on that back line to stop Oakland from getting any good chances.
Absolutely, absolutely. Then we look at the other end of the field, and this one, we'll talk a little bit about Tomás Ángel and obviously getting the goal. That's a huge one for him in terms of just getting that first open play goal.
Yeah, it wasn't the most difficult of finishes, but
it's well taken.
Yes,
he takes it well.
Taken. Yes, it's just seeing the ball hit the back of the net. That's just a weight off your shoulders. But the run by Rito initially was well done. He couldn't find anyone in the middle. The ball went a bit too far ahead of Ángel. Quajo at the back, and that's where Oakland, the chaos was caused there. Oakland couldn't find people in the middle. Ángel was unmarked, and he does well with it to head it in.
Blanchette, of course, has come out to try and prevent the play from developing further out wide, and so he's out of his goal. Now, again, was it the most difficult one for Tomás Ángel to put away? Probably not. At the same time, we watched an Oakland team that struggled to put shots on target, that struggled in moments where, quite frankly, it felt as though it was harder to put it over the bar than it was to put something on goal. He put it on goal.
Yeah,
he did exactly what was asked of him, and not only that, there's also an element of just if you are a number 9 and you are making the right run, you are in the right position, you're there to finish it away in the first place, which is huge.
Mm-hmm.
That's a huge part of being a good number 9. Is it's not just the actual finish; it's also being there and knowing where you need to be and knowing where you are to be free away from the defenders, and he did all of that well. And again, it's one of those ones where I think in a long week like this, you take it, right? Was this the prettiest of wins? No. You take all of those elements of it.
Yeah, especially an away win in this league where Rising have struggled not only this season, but really historically to win on the road. Besides that 4-match stretch last fall, they have struggled historically to win. And pulling it off twice on the same trip is huge. It's huge for momentum after that Monterey Bay performance, where, as I said earlier, we really thought that this team could miss the playoffs after that one. Now you're, a point away from clinching a spot in the playoffs, or is it 2 points now?
Well, realistically, I wouldn't even really think of it in that sense. The reality is that San Antonio needs to. Well, we'll get into the permutations this later when we pull the table up. But San Antonio are going to have to win out. To even threaten. So from that perspective, it feels as though I think Phoenix Rising are in a pretty good position right now in terms of making it into the postseason. Where there were doubts a couple of weeks ago, I wouldn't say that I have those doubts now.
No.
So again, that tells you something about where this team is overall. Well, you know what? We're going to come in with a little bit more interview content very shortly. We'll be telling you a little bit about what we heard from Diego Gómez, what we heard from the match winner tonight, Tomás Ángel. But before that, we're going to take a quick break. And we're going to talk to you about our friends at Branded Bills, one of our newer partners here at PHNX. Branded Bills, they have deals with all of the your favorite colleges in Arizona, as long as your favorite colleges are Arizona State and the ones who lost to BYU today. But I mean, some of you guys like that team, so I mean, whatever. I mean,
some of you are wrong.
You know, if you want to be wrong, at least you can wear the right hat. Okay, so there you go. Go check out Branded Bills. They've got all kinds of great stuff on their website. They got them for other colleges as well, not just the Arizona ones, even though we talk about them a lot for very obvious reasons. But they've got all other kinds of stuff as well. State flag hats, snapbacks, beanies. You can make custom things with them as well. All kinds of great stuff. And not only that, if you go check them out now on brandedbills.com, we got that promo code right below us there, PHNX. You're not going to forget it. You save 20% off of your first order. Use that promo code PHNX at brandedbills.com. And also shout out to our friends at Circle K. If you're not already a member of the Inner Circle program, I'm not sure why you're not. You want to go check that out because you can sign up for free and you get savings. You like savings, Rees?
I do like savings.
A lot of people like savings. Rees is a student. He needs those savings. He really does need those savings. You know what? It's really hot still in Arizona. I hear the cool down is coming.
I don't believe it.
So is Christmas. But it's coming, apparently. And if it does come soon, you're still going to want to go grab a Polar Pop because it's still going to be hot. It's Arizona. It's always hot. If you want to cool down, go grab yourself a Polar Pop. They are on offer at the moment. You can get a 79-cent any size Polar Pop. But you also get actually a few of them free when you sign up for the Inner Circle program as well. And you get discounts on gas. You have 25 cents off your first 5 fill-ups. And you save money thereafter as well. So if you haven't already done so, go ahead, download the Circle K app today to sign up for the Inner Circle program for free. And of course, terms and conditions do apply at participating locations. And go check out circlek.com for full details. Right then, Rees. We should probably hear a little bit from people other than us, which is a good one. So let's have a listen now to the overall thoughts coming off of that game from interim head coach Diego Gómez. Okay, so first thoughts coming off of that game.
Well, I think it was a hard-fought game. I'm very happy with the way that the team played, first half, second half of the beginning. We knew that we needed to have a mentality also if we go with the goal in advantage, that we needed to lock in our goal, that legs were gonna get tired after Wednesday, and they didn't have play, plus all the players that we have missing on the squad. I think the guys did a great job. We didn't concede anything, even when we put the low block. We didn't concede much, and I'm happy with everybody. I think that the team came to this trip with something to prove, with something to show after the bad results, and they show that we have courage, that we have want to play for the crowd, want to play for the fans, and now we need to take it home.
I think there's a really important point in there in just the fight this team has shown this week, right? We were talking about, I think, coming off of that Monterrey Bay game, that it felt as though realistically the team's backs were against the wall. And at that point, you were going to get probably one of two responses, right? They were going to come out swinging and really fight to the death. Whether they actually made it in or not, they were going to have to put up a really good fight to have any chance of making it in, or they were going to fold. And what we've seen is the former. And they've come out swinging. Again, has it been the prettiest? No, but it's also a multi-game week. So those games, you take what you can, especially away from home. You take what you can. And they've managed to come away with 6 points in these games.
Yeah, it's a multi-game week with the lineup that you've been forced to put out due to injuries, international duty. I mean, when they went...
Personal reasons, illness,
all
kinds of things have been going
chaos. But when you went that 1-0 down against New Mexico, you'd think that, okay, we're screwed. We need to come back.
Especially knowing the lack of attacking options.
Exactly. Yeah, and then you could say that maybe they get lucky with the penalty. It's the right call, but maybe they get lucky with it happening in the first place. But they get the goal, and then they get one in the second half. You could also say that's lucky there, but luck doesn't mean anything in this part of the season. You just need results. That's
you take
what
your luck.
You
create your own luck to an extent.
Yeah, exactly. And then they get the result today. Wasn't pretty in the first half. Second half, they get the goal back and then defend for the rest of the match. And that's really all you need. And that you need points at this stage of the season, and Rising are getting points.
They are. Well, you know what? We were talking about him earlier. And of course, the goal scorer from tonight's match, but he's also our man of the match. He made the difference in this one. It is Tomás Ángel with the man of the match here, and also had a pretty decent passing record as well today, which again is quite impressive actually for a player who's quite as attacking positionally as him. Yes, he drops back, and yes, he gets involved in other parts of the play as well. But it's important for him in terms of just, again, I think his confidence today by getting that open play goal. Yeah, the penalties do so much, but they only do so much.
Exactly. I mean, I've said this earlier, but the offside goal, you see that and you're just like, yes, he finally got one. But then you see the offside flag go up, and then it's just like, okay, we're back at square one. Then the buildup happens in the second half. He can't quite get to the one that Rito played in. You're like, oh no, here we go again. And then Cuejo hooks him up with a good ball and then he heads it in. That's huge. That's huge. Yeah. He finally gets it. Finally, what is it? His 12th match now?
It's been quite a few.
It's been quite a few. He's got 3 goals now, which sounds good, but still the only one open play goal. Hopefully this can lead to momentum for him for the final 2 matches of the season and then possibly into the playoffs too.
Indeed. Let's hear from Tomás Ángel after that match.
Obviously, in the personal terms, it's amazing. It was a rough start, obviously getting here, being new, and obviously getting comfortable in a new team with 2 months left of tournament. It was hard, but I think the most important is to win, and obviously if I can help, it's going to be amazing for me.
Yeah, indeed. And look, he kind of said later on when I was chatting with him, and I asked him like, it's got to be a relief. He's like, oh yeah, yeah. And that's completely understandable. You expect it to be, I think, in this kind of a moment, because again, it's just, for a striker, you see so much of it is just confidence, right? It's confidence, and a confident striker can often do things that a striker who's not as confident just either doesn't take on or kind of fluffs it in the moment. You know, they've got the opportunity and they don't put it away. If he's confident, if it feels like he's going to good form, he could very well be a danger going into these last few games of the season.
Yeah, he also referenced in that interview the how his circumstances coming into the club were difficult, and they were. He came into this team at a moment where they were desperate for goal scoring. They had lacked the number 9 since effectively last November, really. And he finally, it's not easy. He's going to be, from the get-go, he is put up there in that Colorado Springs match, and there was pressure on him to get that goal in that match when they went down 1-0 and then ultimately 2-0. Now it finally gets it. Hopefully, I keep saying this, it's a push in the right direction for him.
Yeah, you would hope so. Now, obviously, after he scores the goal, we see a change in there. It feels quite a defensive change, right?
Yeah.
And it's not the first time that we've seen that kind of a defensive change from Phoenix Rising this week, even.
No.
Giulio Dorosiotto goes off. They bring on Mo Traore. They're packing the back. And I put that one to Diego after the match, and I asked him, when you look at that kind of defensive sub, what is it that you're thinking there? Is it something that you've seen in this game in particular that you think that's going to work? Or is it just a general kind of, you trust that when you have the lead, if you pack the back, you're going to be able to hang on to it? Let's have a listen to what he had to say.
I think we have it's an away game, 2 away games, and one thing that we talk is about being competitive. At the same time, we knew we didn't have a lot of chances on top for this game, so the team feel very comfortable when we are winning to be able to don't concede, to be able to don't give a lot of opportunities to the opponent, and we know that we can kill it in one counter. So that was the thought behind it.
There we go. Again, just one of those ones where I think it makes sense, but it also can make for some nervy finishes. And Rising defended well. It was back to the wall at times. His body's in the way, and that's never a bad thing. But you also then say that when you get into that kind of position, and Rising didn't really put a whole lot up attacking-wise, I think, after the goal.
Yeah.
It was very much defending, very much on the back foot, which partly is always going to happen. But against good teams, eventually that luck runs out. And we've seen that, like Vegas, you kind of choose to sit back to the wall a little bit, and eventually the luck kind of runs out. Maybe in that one you feel a little bit hard done by because of just how late those goals came. But, I mean, look, it worked this week. We can't argue that it worked twice.
Yeah.
The question is how much more they can replicate this going forward and forward and forward, because especially as you get into the playoffs, the likelihood is, and knowing again, we'll get into the full table shortly, but the very likelihood is this team will now be a playoff team.
Yeah.
You just know that it's going to be difficult in terms of you're coming up against good squads, especially being in the bottom half of the playoffs. You will be playing good teams. Whether that defensive-minded kind of approach will work and work and work in the way that it does, we'll see.
Yeah, because if it gets into a match where it goes to extra time, then or you're up 1-0 and then you concede late and it goes to extra time, then you're in a position where you almost have to play for penalties for those 30 minutes.
Right, it's hard. Teams often find it hard then to step it back up, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
They settle into a more defensive shape. They sit back. They bring more defenders on, and then they're in a position whereby it gets hard if you do concede the goal to step it back up again.
Yeah.
And sometimes the heads drop as well. That's the thing. We saw that in terms of what happened with the match in Phoenix when Vegas came into town, and the fact that one, the way it ended with the 2 goals conceded in extra time, added time. It's a difficult one, but again, it worked this week. And sometimes, to be fair, in weeks like this, needs must to a degree. Okay, it's a difficult week. I mean, that was even something that Diego hints at there on the interview clip. There, he hints at it in this. Look, it's a long week. We've got 2 games. We know what the attacking options we have on the bench are, and you kind of have to work with that, right? You work with what you've got. In another world, i.e. next week, when Jearl Margaritha is available, when Damian Barker-John is available, when Darius Johnson is available, when Rémi Cabral is plausibly available, you're dealing with a different scenario then at that point. And whether you choose to be as defensive in those moments or not, I don't know. But it worked with the personnel they had out here tonight. And that's the personnel they had to work with. So I'm not going to argue too much on that front.
No, I don't think you can. I mean, the report for players missing tonight had 7 players on it. 7. I know Stenberg's been on there for a while, but still.
Well, Stenberg's effectively, let's be real. None of us are expecting to see John Stenberg realistically again, I think, this year.
No, I agree. But still, missing 7 players from your roster is huge.
It is, yeah.
And with that in mind, getting 6 points through the 2 matches is still, it's mind-blowing to me.
And coming into a game like this where Oakland didn't play in midweek.
Exactly.
Phoenix Rising did.
Yeah, and they played on the road too. It's wild to me that they picked up the 6 points from the 2 matches after how they looked in the 3 matches coming into this one. It's 2 very good performances in terms of the context.
Absolutely. And then just as a final bit here, obviously going into this week, it'd been a pretty rough stretch for Phoenix Rising. I did ask Diego Gómez about just the confidence going in. They come away with 6 points in this 6 points that were available to them this week, and I asked him if he thought that was a realistic target going into the week. Let's have a listen to what he said.
For us, yes. For us, yes, we believe. You asked me if I believe that we were going to make it the playoff after the last 2 games. I say I believe and we believe. The team believe. We came here knowing like we can get these 6 points. So very happy that we were able to do it.
Yeah, and look, I didn't necessarily expect a different answer than that from Diego Gómez afterwards, but understandably, look, I'll put it this way. I think, look, Diego looked, I think, relieved on Wednesday. Today he looked, I think it was that step beyond relieved. He looked happy. He looked like he was enjoying himself. I mean, and I understand it, right? Tonight has put this team on the brink of sealing now a playoff place. Again, we'll pull the table up shortly and talk about that a little bit more. If it wasn't actually for a 99th minute winner for San Antonio away at Colorado Springs tonight, Phoenix Rising would have clinched a playoff place with their win tonight. They're actually also up to 6 now, by the way.
Yeah, but Orange County don't play until Wednesday, and they have
Orange County do play on Wednesday with a
the
match in hand, so that would knock them down a little bit, but they have now taken Oakland Roots. Actually, let's have a look at that table then. Let's get that context there. Let's have a look at the table. New Mexico obviously up at the top. Sacramento, Las Vegas, Colorado Springs, and Memphis. They're the ones all fighting for a home playoff game there. But as you look a little bit further down now, Phoenix overtaking Oakland as a result of tonight's match. They take them by 1 point. So they're on 42, Oakland on 41. Orange County are on 39 right now. They do have that game in hand. They will be playing on Wednesday. San Antonio outside of the playoff picture at the minute. They're on 38. So just to put that in perspective right now, they trail Phoenix Rising by 4 points. Here's what we know. Phoenix Rising has the tiebreaker over San Antonio. So if San Antonio get 4 points and Rising get none, that's not enough. So San Antonio have to win their 2 remaining games in order to catch up with Phoenix Rising. And that relies on the fact that Phoenix Rising then, therefore, can't get more than 1 point in these last 2 games to give San Antonio a chance to catch up. If Rising get 2 points, if Rising get 3 points, they will have put themselves out of reach of San Antonio. Now, you look at the other teams below there. Tulsa, 35. They're out of reach. They cannot reach Phoenix Rising's total. Monterey Bay also cannot on 34 because of the win tonight for Phoenix Rising. And El Paso, of course, eliminated at the bottom of the table, so they were never going to catch up anyway. So now it's only San Antonio at this point who can catch Phoenix Rising, and only under a very, very specific set of circumstances.
And I don't think those circumstances are really realistic. Yes, San Antonio have to play at home twice.
They're playing Detroit and they're playing Louisville. The idea they're going to come
exactly.
away with 6 points in those games and Phoenix Rising drop all the points that realistically would need to happen, right? I mean, it's possible that Rising come away with maybe 1 point from the next 2 games. Again, it's a difficult slate of games that Rising have coming up as well. But the idea that San Antonio, who squandered a lead against El Paso in midweek, are likely to come away with 6 points out of 6 in those games doesn't feel particularly likely, does it?
No, I mean, they get Louisville next week. They're still chasing the points record. I don't see them beating them. The one that I think is winnable is Detroit, but I mean, you're at home, so you get a bit of an advantage.
They needed Rising to drop, probably lose today.
Yeah.
Because even with a draw, Rising would have meant that San Antonio couldn't afford to lose for the rest of the season. Gosh, getting a bit of hiccups there. Wow. It's been a long post-game show this feeling like already. Let's have a look at the scores, though, from today. We can bring those up and just kind of run you through some of what happened. Colorado Springs 1, San Antonio 2. Again, 99th minute winner for San Antonio in that match. Memphis 0, Sacramento 0. Tulsa with a 1-1 draw against New Mexico. Pretty nasty injury in that match led to a very, very lengthy delay in stoppage time in Tulsa. One of New Mexico's players going down with a head injury. They were stopped for, it was a long time, very long time, over 20 minute stoppage there. Obviously the result here with Oakland 0, Phoenix 1, Detroit 0, Indy 0 is how they opened up. Pittsburgh Riverhounds 2, Charleston 0.
Charleston going on vacation.
It feels like old school Phoenix Rising a little bit there, I'm going to be honest. Hartford 4, North Carolina 3, Eastern Conference.
Jeez.
Wow. They're really being interesting there. And Louisville came back from 1-0 down to get the result over Tampa Bay Rowdies 2-1 in that one. 2 games coming up tomorrow. Rhode Island playing Loudoun and Birmingham Legion playing Las Vegas Lights. So things are coming towards their conclusion here.
Yeah, and I just can't believe Rising are this close to making the playoffs. It's shocking.
We didn't feel that. I mean, in honesty, I feel like we looked at this week and thought maybe 1 point, maybe win one of them would have been. If they'd have come away with 3 points over the week, you'd have said, okay, you've taken a good step forward. But they've really shocked, I think, a lot of people. And what I'll say is, obviously, that's not a bad thing.
No, not at all.
Look, this team will prove us wrong sometimes, and
they prove
us wrong in this kind of a way. We're not going to argue too much.
Yeah. Oh. Excuse me.
Struggling there.
Yeah. I mean,
it's that food you ate. You did.
It was yummy.
I
had some good food for once at a soccer match. Scenes.
You'll
see the video.
You're going to see those videos tomorrow. We're going to put them up. We're going to give you some real food content. Shout out to everyone in the chat, by the way, who's been with us through this. Eric with Max, who apparently
Mr.
people like you as the new Max, the Mr. Vacations. Mr. Vacations will be around, by the way, coming up again shortly.
Oh wow!
I know.
For what, a week, and then he's off again, or what?
No, I think he's here for us with all the games remaining now, which is nice. Meanwhile, some of the other comments in here. Let Reese say the scores, please, next, says Devin. Wow, no, it's okay.
No, that's Owen's job.
It's my job. I thought I was doing that. Back-to-back road wins versus playoff teams plays the level of competition, Kevin says. Yeah, I mean, they did okay. I thought they did okay in both of these. And yeah, I mean, people, I think, feeling all right about this one. Good performance overall by Phoenix Rising tonight to get it done. Again, gritty. Not the most necessarily... thoroughly convincing. But again, it's a difficult week. And they came out, put in a gritty performance, and came away with 3 points, and 3 points on Wednesday as well.
Yeah, and again, it's anytime you can pick up points on the road, you take it. Anytime you can pick up points when you're missing players due to international duty, you take it. So you take
anytime you can pick up points with just the number of players they had injured as well, injured or personal reasons or ill in midweek even. You take it. And if it's going to put you on the brink of claiming a playoff place, you take it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you know what? We'll look ahead to the next week. Obviously, Phoenix Rising with a big game coming up against Memphis. It is the final home game of the season. And despite their recent little kind of bump in form, probably going to be the final home game this year. I think it's unlikely we can agree that they will host a playoff game at any point.
Miracles can happen.
Miracles can happen.
Look at the glass as if it's half full. Owen.
We'll see. I mean, they probably need to win both games remaining, I think.
Yeah, and then
to put themselves and have some results elsewhere go their way.
Playoffs,
so I'm not really sure. I mean, I don't know if that's even possible, actually. Is it right now? Are they on 42? Yeah, it's possible, but it's highly unlikely.
Let's see. Let's pull up the table one more time.
You're just chatting. He's looking at this.
They could, in theory, catch Memphis or Colorado Springs.
Yeah, but Memphis are too low. So
yeah.
Anyway, they could, but
mathematically
it's very
possible, but
very unlikely. That said, the higher up the table you get, the more likely it is that down the line, maybe you're able to host one later on if things go your way. And upsets happen elsewhere, so you have to see. So yeah, we will have a busy week ourselves. We're going to have pods. They're not going to be the Tuesday, Thursday as usual. We'll be doing Monday, Wednesday this week because, of course, there's that event coming up on Thursday. And we're going to let you guys enjoy that instead of taking up your time. So we will see you on Monday at 6 p.m. We'll have our very own, the Stat Lackey, the Sausage Spewer, the Busy Guzzler.
Nope.
Who's also been doing food reviews here in the Bay Area because
that I enjoyed. I enjoyed them.
You enjoyed them.
I'm not at Phoenix Rising Stadium anymore.
That's true. That's true. Also, by the way, hit the like button for Reese food reviews. Thank you, PHNX Sports. That might be our producer Kyle. It is our producer Kyle. Hi, Kyle. But yeah, hit the like button for those food reviews, right? And just remember, it's going to be an interesting, I think, end to the season now. With a little bit less pressure than we'd have expected. We think this is going to be now a playoff team, I think, is what we've got here, because it would take truly the disaster of all disasters for that.
It would
not to be
take
the
a
case.
Arizona Diamondbacks to miss the
No,
playoffs.
it's worse than
It
that
really-
right
yeah,
now.
it
It's
probably
worse
is.
than that, I feel. It would take even more than that right now, but just we'll see. We'll see. Right. Well, remember, you can follow the pod at PHNX__rising, because double the underscores.
Double the wins in a week.
There we go. I was about to say the same thing. Thank you, Reese. You're reading my mind, dear. You're reading my mind. You can follow me on Twitter at OJEvans18. You can follow Reese on Twitter
At Reese11_.
at Reese11_. You can follow our producer on Twitter at KCoopSports. And of course, you can follow so many things that we're doing at PHNX. If you become a PHNX diehard, go ahead, go check out gophnx.com/diehard. You get access to all of our exclusive written content. You get access to the Diehards Only Discord, where you can definitely have some comments at Mr. Vacations. He will be back soon, so you can really get his thoughts on his vacations.
Vacation,
you know, he get vacations, and you ask him about the football he hasn't been watching. And you can also get a free t-shirt from the PHNX locker every single year that you are a diehard, as well as other kind of exclusive fun, like you get discounts in the locker, you get discounts on events. Just it's a fun community. It's great to be part of. Go ahead, check it out. Go phnx.com/diehard. And again, we are coming up now towards the end of our show. We'll see you on Monday night, 6 o'clock, for our first of our weekly shows, looking ahead to the Memphis 901 game and looking back on this week and just what a hectic week it has been. But until then, on Monday night, good night from Haywood.
We all silly like the mayor.